Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Assalamu alaikum. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. All praises are Allah's, Lord of the worlds, and may His peace and blessings be upon our Master, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, and his pure immaculate Ahlul Bayt. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. It's an honor for me to come and share a few days of this ceremony with you, brothers and sisters. And the tawfiq is all mine to come here once again after I was here last year. There's no one theme that I will be discussing during the 10 nights. It's a different diversity of certain issues that I want to raise, but they do have an underlying agenda if you pay attention to it. I'll start with this holy tradition from the Holy Messenger of Allah, and then with this tradition we'll try and dissect it and go a bit deeper into it with time. There's a lot of meaning behind this prophetic tradition. The tradition is as follows, that Ma min mawludin illa yuladu ala al-fitrati fa'abawahu yuhawwidanihi aw yunassiranihi aw yumajjisanihi. The translation is that there's no newborn save that, except that it is born alal fitra. It's born based on the fitra. Then fa abawahu, it's the ab. Here let's translate it as parents for now. It's his parents or her parents that make him or her a Jew, Christian or Zoroastrian. Now this tradition has a lot of meaning. Maybe all of you know the superficial dimension and meaning to this tradition, but maybe you haven't come across the more deeper aspects to it. The traditions of the Holy Messenger and the traditions of the Ahlul Bayt in general, it's multidimensional. It's like the Quran. In the Holy Quran, chapter 53, verses 3 and 4, when it reads, وَمَا يَنْتِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا وَحْيٌ يُوحَىٰ, in relation to the Holy Messenger, he doesn't speak out of his own desire. It's nothing but revelation revealed upon him, upon the Holy Messenger. Here, Allah Tabai says this revelation which is revealed upon the Holy Messenger is of two types. And then he classifies revelation into two types. I don't want to go into that too much here, because I think we spoke about it in detail last year. But very briefly, wahy and revelation, like prophethood and prophets, there are two types. One is the legislative revelation, and that is what we have as the Arabic Quran, revealed by the last prophet of Allah and the last messenger of Allah. We don't believe that any legislative revelation will come after the last prophet. And that's why prophethood does have an end. There's no name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala which is called An-Nabi. This name doesn't exist for Allah. If it did, then Nubuwwah, prophethood, wouldn't have had an end. And that's why Wilaya has no end. Because one of Allah's names is Al-Wali. There's never going to be an end to a Wali. There's always a Wali on earth. A Wali is someone who has that close proximity with Allah, is in unity with Allah, with awareness. That person always exists on earth. Although Wali has other meanings too, but An-Nabi, prophethood, no. It has an end. It has a beginning, it has an end. The end was with our Holy Messenger. This legislative revelation, which is revealed in the Quran, and the Sharia is emanated and extrapolated from it, is that there can't be anything after that. There's no revelation, there's no Sharia after Islam. And the reason is because the closeness that the Holy Messenger attained in relation to Allah, that infinite relationship with Allah, you can't have a higher and more infinite proximity with Allah. If that was possible, there would have been further legislative revelations after. And this closeness wasn't attained by earlier prophets. That's why there was room for further prophets. But with our Holy Messenger, it comes to an end. But the second type of revelation is informative revelation in Ba'i. Informative in the sense that one, the doors to the unseen realms, this dunya being the seen, apparent, visible, physical realm of existence. Everything else in existence is unseen. So this physical realm, and this physical realm too is infinite, always was, from pre-eternity, always will be, this physical realm. But still it's not seen. There are inner, unseen layers to this physical realm. One's access to those unseen, invisible layers of existence, one's access to them, becoming informed of the realities of those unseen realms of existence, yes, that also is a form of revelation. The realities are revealed upon people, and they become aware. This kind of revelation is open to everyone, me and you, male, female, until the end of time. There's no end here. Whereas with the first revelation, legislative revelation, there is an end. Anyway, the point was that this tradition that we started off with, it has many degrees, like with the Holy Quran. And it's good to understand the superficial meaning of the traditions of the Ahlul Bayt, but don't suffice with it. If you do suffice with it and say that Islam ends here, it's a pity. You haven't done anything haram legislatively, but it's a pity. You won't grow. Now let's look at this tradition very slowly and focus on its meaning, because some meanings are quite difficult for me to convey, but I'll do my best, but you just have to pay attention to it. So, مَا مِن مَوْلُودٍ إِلَّا يُولَدْ عَلَى الْفِطْرَةِ. So there's no newborn, save that it is born based on its fitra. This fitra, you've all heard of the term fitrat, and it may be loosely translated as one's innate nature. But I want to try and explain more as to what this fitra actually is. In the Quran too, in chapter 30, verse 30, there's mention of this fitra. Fitrat Allah allati fatara an-nasa alayha. Here the prepositions are important. But this fitra, Allah created people based on the fitra. See, Allah created people based on the fitra. In this tradition too, on a par with the logic of the Quran, it says there's no newborn save that it is born, yulad, ala al-fitra. In the verse in the Holy Quran, alayha, here it brings fitra. Save that it is born based on the fitra. Why am I stressing this so much? The reason is because from this tradition and the verse that I mentioned in the Holy Quran, chapter 30, verse 30, it shows that the reality of the fitra precedes the reality of the physical creation of man. The physical creation of man. The physical creation of me and you is preceded by the fitra. So there's a fitra. Based on that comes the physical creation of man. Now what does this mean? Two very important points that the scholars have made. When it comes to the definition of man, Ayatollah Hassanzadeh has given a very unique definition, Hafidhahullah, where he says man is an extended creature, an extended entity rather, from pre-eternity to post-eternity, from the earthly dimension to the celestial dimension. It's a very important definition of man. So you, X, qua man, as a man or woman, as a human, you as a human, you existed from pre-eternity and you will exist until post-eternity. And the different dimensions of your existence covers from the very earthly to the very celestial. Now what does this mean? What does it mean that you existed pre-eternally? Because once we say that me, the particular existence of me, existed before physical creation, one has to be careful here. If it's not interpreted carefully, one would fall into the trap of reincarnation. Ayatollah Hassanzadeh is saying the man is an extended entity from pre-eternity to post-eternity, from the earthly dimension to the celestial dimension. That's all well and good. But we have to understand this definition of man. If I existed before the physical creation and then came into this physical realm as a physical being, this has to be explained very carefully. If one doesn't explain it carefully, they may be believers of reincarnation without them knowing it. And actually the tradition which says that we started off with, that no newborn is born save that it is born based on its fitra, and it's the parents that make it Jew, Christian or Zoroastrian. Yes, those three are just examples. They can make you even Hindu. You're a Muslim. But in quotes, doctrinally your belief is that of a Hindu. And other things which we'll discuss with time. The point here is, like with the verse in the Quran, this alal fitra, save that it is born based on its fitra. So this shows that the fitra precedes the physical creation of man. What is man? Man is an extended creature from pre-eternity to post-eternity, from the earthly to the celestial. That's one point. Before explaining fitra, just one other point I just want to add that too. Just in case that definition may completely confuse you, there's an example that they give. It's the example of an architect. Imagine the architect. This architect has acquired the knowledge of architecture after studying architecture for some time, and it's incorporated within him, that knowledge. Now he's sitting here. That abstract knowledge is accompanying him, but it's abstract. Then the architect says he conceives of pictures, mental pictures of a house. See, first it was that abstract knowledge was within him. It was indivisible. That abstract knowledge, the next step, when it manifests, he's now conceiving of mental images of a house. It's kind of descended one step from that abstract reality to that mental conception of a house. It's like ijtihad. The faqih has ijtihad. It's incorporated within him. Then he comes and conceives of a fatwa. It's a mental picture now. But that mental picture is divisible, whereas the abstract ijtihad was indivisible. Then the architect, after conceiving of those mentally, those pictures of the house, he now sketches it and designs it on a piece of paper. And then ultimately, what you end up is a physical house. See, there are different steps that, from the existence of the architect to the existence of the physical house, there were varying degrees of immateriality and physicality. The physical house is physical. The varying degrees of immateriality, well, those mental pictures weren't physical, they weren't material. But that abstract knowledge is even more immaterial than the mental pictures. Now, if we were to say, because Ayatollah Hassan Zade's definition is that man is an extended entity from pre-eternity to post-eternity, from the earthly dimension to the celestial dimension. He's created physically based on the fitra. The fitra precedes physical creation. Then this definition of Ayatollah Hassan Zadeh says man existed from pre-eternity. How are we to assemble all these? The point is this. If someone was to say that this physical house existed before its physical creation, are they lying? We say no. We say this house, not physical house, this house existed. Before its physical creation, the house existed. Where? In the aql, in the abstract knowledge of the architect. The house existed. Did the physical house exist in the abstract knowledge of the architect? The answer is no. The physical house didn't exist. The house existed. Did this person exist before physical? No. If you say yes, you fall into reincarnation. We'll speak more about that later. The house existed then. with me and you, we all existed pre-eternity, pre-eternally in Allah's knowledge. Allah always had knowledge of me and you. It wasn't the case that there was no knowledge that Allah had in relation to me and you, and then He acquired it. That's not the kind of Allah we want to believe in. We existed, the man existed pre-eternally, not the physical man. Yes, I did say that the material world existed from pre-eternity to post-eternity, but I never said this X particular person existed from pre-eternity. X physical, this particular physical entity of X, they didn't exist from pre-eternity. But matter in general existed. Anyway, we all existed in Allah's knowledge. In our analogy, in the mind of the architect. Although the mind of the architect, we shouldn't compare it with Allah's knowledge. It's two totally different things. This analogy is only for you to try to grasp the reality of what I want to say. We all existed in Allah's knowledge. And then with that architect, from the mind, then it went into the mental pictures. Those mental pictures of the house, there were 4 walls, there were bricks, but they were mental pictures. But those mental pictures were divisible. Unlike the abstract, aqli entity. We all existed in Allah's knowledge. And then that knowledge manifested to a lower immaterial realm, a lower realm, until it came to the physical. But before it came to the physical, one realm is that of the fitra. Now we said, based on this tradition and on chapter 30 verse 30, this fitra, which is loosely translated as innate nature of man, this fitra preceded the physical creation. Now I'm not saying preceded in time. It's an important point. It's a precedence in hierarchy, but it doesn't mean it's a precedence in time. And that's a very delicate point. We'll come to it another lecture, inshallah. But this physical creation was created based on the fitra. Ala al-fitra. And in the verse it said, alayha, ha referring to the fitra. It was based on this. In the example of the architect, the physical house was based on those mental pictures that the architect had. That physical house was based on it. Those mental pictures precede the physical creation of the house. So, now what is this fitra which preceded the physical man in hierarchy? Don't say time. What is it? Man is an extended entity. From pre-eternity to post-eternity. From the earthly dimension to the celestial. It's all man. And what is this fitra then? That based on this fitra, then man was created. Here, this fitra upon which man became a creature, in broad terms, it's Tawheed. Now, let me explain this. This Tawheed, there are certain doctrinal, ethical and fiqhi issues, general, universal principles of doctrine, of ethics, of ahkam, of fiqh. There are these universal principles in these domains and other domains that are extracted from Tawheed. assigning oneness to Allah. Look, man is based, the creation of man, the physical creation is based on the fitrah. What is the fitrah? It's Tawheed. What does Tawheed mean? It's assigning oneness to Allah. Okay, it still doesn't help for now in us understanding what the fitrah is. And this Tawheed, from it emanates, and from it is extrapolated universal principles of aqa'id, doctrine, ethics, and ahkam. This is the fitrah. It's a dimension of man. We said man is an extended creature, entity from pre-eternity. There are layers in that pre-eternity. One of those dimensions of pre-eternity is that of the fitrah. It's a dimension of me and you. And that's why they may be translated as that innate nature. But understand, this innate indicates a precedence before physicality, but the precedence isn't temporal, isn't in time. It's in hierarchy, because it's you. It's just a dimension of you. And that dimension exists right now, today. With you, the physical creature, but now you have this physical dimension. But you are multi-layered. You have celestial dimensions too. One of those was the fitrah, which was instilled. It's a dimension of you. It's not even correct to say it's instilled in you. It's a dimension of man. In the Quran, when it says, Inna ad-deena indallahi al-Islam, verily religion before Allah is Islam. This Islam in this verse isn't the Sharia Islam that we have. Although it may be a part of it, but it's not the Sharia period. This Islam is the fitrah. It's one and the same. What Nabi Ibrahim brought was Islam. What Nabi Musa brought was Islam. What our Holy Messenger brought was Islam. It's all Islam. No one brought Christianity. No one brought Judaism. No one brought Zoroastrianism. These are distorted understandings of Islam, though. It's Islam that has been distorted. There may be elements of Islam that are still preserved in Christianity, in Judaism, Zoroastrianism. But look, the tradition that we started off, no newborn is born save that it's born based on its fitrah. Look, it's born based on its fitrah. And then in opposition, in the later part of the tradition, it says it's the parents that make them Jew, Christian, or Zoroastrianism. It's as if Judaism, Christianity, and Zoroastrianism is in opposition to al-fitrah, in opposition to Islam, true Tawheed, with all its emanations. That is the fitrah. It's a pre-eternal dimension, but it's a dimension of you. You, the physical creature, didn't exist when this dimension was. But you existed, but not you, the physical entity. It's very interesting, this al-fitrah, it's used in opposition to Christianity, Judaism, but all was Islam, the religions, all religion. It's not technically correct to say we have Christianity, Judaism, Zoroastrianism. Islam came to complement Judaism. It's okay. We know what they mean. But it's not technically correct. Islam hasn't come to complement a distorted Islam. That doesn't make sense. complement here won't make sense with that. Judaism, Christianity, they distorted Islam. What Musa brought was Islam. What Isa brought, alayhi salam, Islam. What all prophets brought, it was Islam per se. Islam meaning that Tawheed with its emanations. Muhammadan Islam existed at the time of Musa. Muhammadan Islam existed in the time of Ibrahim, but it didn't manifest like it manifested at the time of our holy messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Islam is Islam, but the manifestation of how this Islam manifests, yes, there are differences there. Like there are differences in prophets. That's not a problem. How it manifests, the degree of the manifestation of that perfection of Islam varies. But all of them brought Islam. Islam is the fitrah. Now in Alam al-Dhan, when the holy verse reads, إِذْ أَخَذَ رَبُّكَ مِنْ بَنِي آدَمَ مِنْ ظُهُورِهِمْ ذُرِّيَّتَهُمْ وَأَشْهَدَهُمْ عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِهِمْ قَالُوا أَلَسْتُ بِرَبِّكُمْ قَالَ أَلَسْتُ بِرَبِّكُمْ قَالُوا بَلَى شَهِدْنَا. Don't you recall addressing the Holy Messenger? Don't you recall that your Lord is addressing the Holy Messenger, made an allegiance, took an allegiance from all Bani Adam, all the children of Adam, all people, generation after generation, min dhuhurihim, and made them bear witness of themselves and said, am I not your Lord? They said, yes, we bear witness. Here, this verse is highlighting and demonstrating that dimension of me and you and every person, which is called the fitrah. We said fitrah is tawheed. Yes, it is tawheed. Alastu bi rabbikum qalu bala, am I not your Lord? Rububiyyah, lordship. Qalu bala, they said yes. Servitude, ubudiyyah, from one side lordship, rububiyyah, on the other side servitude, ubudiyyah. That's the fitrah, tawheed. There's a Rab, there's a Abd. They said yes. Our fitrah is a dimension of us preceding in hierarchy, not in time, the physical creation of us. And that dimension is our fitrah, innate nature, with this meaning. It's a dimension of me and you which is constantly, even now, saying, yes, I am Abd. You are Rab, I am Abd. You are Rab, I am Abd. But we have to attain access to that dimension of ours. If we sin,